Christmas music is playing in every store. Lights are strung across every street. Everyone's smiling, shopping, celebrating. And you're standing in Target at 9 p.m., staring at price tags, doing math in your head that never quite adds up. Your daughter asked for one thing this year. Just one. And you can't afford it. The shame hits different during Christmas, doesn't it? Because this is supposed to be the season of giving, of magic, of making memories. But what happens when you're the parent who can't deliver? What happens when love isn't enough to fill the space under the tree? Tonight, I want to tell you about Nina and how one impossible Christmas taught her what the first Christmas was really about. Meet Nina Rodriguez, 36 years old, single mother, works as a medical billing clerk in Phoenix. Her daughter Lily just turned 7, bright kid, loves to read, obsessed with space and astronauts. They live in a small 2-bedroom apartment near the hospital where Nina works. It's not much, but it's theirs. Nina's been doing this alone for 4 years now, since Lily's father left without warning or child support. She's the kind of mother who packs creative lunches with little notes, who never misses a school event even if it means losing pay, who reads to Lily every single night no matter how exhausted she is. On paper, they're barely making it. Nina's paycheck covers rent, utilities, food, and Lily's asthma medication with maybe $50 left over each month. But they're happy, really happy, because Nina learned early that love doesn't cost money. Except now it's December. And Lily came home from school 3 weeks ago talking about the solar system model her teacher showed the class. For weeks, she's been drawing planets, checking out library books about space, falling asleep to videos about astronauts. 2 days ago, she asked Nina for a telescope for Christmas. Not a toy one, a real one that could actually see the moon and stars. Nina looked it up that night after Lily fell asleep. Even a basic ones cost $200. She has $43 in her account until the next paycheck, which is already allocated to January rent. Nina tried every angle. She checked Facebook Marketplace. Used telescopes were still $150 minimum. She asked her supervisor about extra shifts, but December was slow, no overtime available. She even considered a payday loan until she calculated the interest and realized it would destroy her budget for 3 months. The breaking point came 5 days before Christmas. Lily's school had a holiday party, and all the kids were talking about what they asked Santa for. Nina picked Lily up afterward, and her daughter was quieter than usual. Finally, in the car, Lily said, "Mom, I know Santa brings presents based on how good you are. Do you think I was good enough this year for the telescope?" Nina's heart shattered, because Lily wasn't doubting Santa. She was doubting herself, wondering if she'd somehow failed to earn what she wanted. Nina pulled into a parking lot, turned around to face her daughter, and said the only thing she could, "Baby, you're the best kid in the entire world. If anyone deserves that telescope, it's you." But driving home, Nina cried, because being the best kid in the world didn't change the math. Love didn't make money appear, and she had no idea how to fix this. Nina went into problem-solving mode. She posted in her neighborhood Facebook group asking if anyone had a telescope they'd be willing to sell cheap. No responses. She called her sister, who was dealing with her own financial crisis, and couldn't help. She even went to 3 pawn shops, hoping to find something used she could afford. Nothing. Her coworker, Jennifer, suggested she just explain to Lily that sometimes Christmas doesn't work out how we plan, that disappointment is part of life, that there's always next year. The advice was practical, probably even wise, but Nina couldn't do it. Not because she was trying to shield Lily from reality. Lily already understood they didn't have much money, but because she didn't want her daughter to spend Christmas morning believing she hadn't been good enough. Nina started working on a backup plan. Maybe she could find a cheaper alternative, a book about space, some glow-in-the-dark stars for the ceiling, something that showed Lily her interest mattered even if the telescope was impossible. But every option felt like a consolation prize, like admitting defeat before the battle was even over. Sunday morning, 4 days before Christmas, Nina dragged herself to church. She almost stayed home, hadn't slept well, felt defeated, didn't have energy for forced holiday cheer. But Lily loved the children's program, so they went. The pastor was preaching on the Christmas story. Nothing Nina hadn't heard 100 times. Mary and Joseph, No room at the inn, baby in a manger. But then he read Luke 2 verses 10 to 11. Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. He stopped there and said something that hit different. Notice what the angel says. The good news isn't about gifts or abundance or having everything you need. The good news is that a Savior has been born in a stable, surrounded by animals, with parents who couldn't afford a proper room. The very first Christmas wasn't about having enough. It was about God showing up in the middle of not having enough. Nina felt something shift. She'd been so focused on what she couldn't provide that she'd missed what was already there. The first Christmas wasn't Instagram perfect. Mary and Joseph were displaced, poor, vulnerable. Jesus was born in conditions most parents would consider a failure. And yet that moment, that impossible, uncomfortable, inadequate moment, was exactly where God chose to enter the world. What if Christmas wasn't about giving Lily everything she wanted? What if it was about showing her that even when things don't go as planned, God is still present? That love shows up not in perfection, but in presence. Nina didn't suddenly have money. The telescope was still out of reach. But something inside her changed. She stopped seeing Christmas through the lens of what she couldn't do and started seeing it through what she could. That afternoon, she sat down with Lily and said, I need to tell you something about Christmas. We're not going to get the telescope this year. I wish we could, but we can't afford it right now. Lily's face fell, but before she could spiral, Nina continued, but I want to show you something even better. This Christmas, we're going to do something special together. Nina proposed a plan. Christmas Eve, they'd drive out to the desert outside Phoenix where the sky was darkest, bring blankets and hot chocolate, and spend the night stargazing. No telescope needed, just the two of them, the stars, and the quiet. They'd download a stargazing app on Nina's phone to identify constellations. They'd talk about space and dreams and what makes Christmas special. Lily thought about it for a moment, then said, Can we bring the Bible story about Jesus being born? Because the wise men followed a star, right? Nina hadn't expected that. Yeah, baby, we can do that. The next 3 days, they prepared together. Printed out constellation charts from the library. Packed snacks and blankets. Lily made a card for Nina that said, Best Christmas ever, with drawings of stars. And something surprising happened. Nina's anxiety lifted. She wasn't trying to manufacture magic anymore. She was just showing up with what she had. Christmas Eve arrived. They drove 40 minutes into the desert, found a quiet spot away from city lights, and spread out their blankets under an ocean of stars. The sky was breathtaking, thousands of stars visible without any equipment. Lily was mesmerized. They used the app to find constellations. Orion, the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. Lily asked 100 questions about planets and galaxies and how far away stars really were. And Nina realized something profound. Her daughter didn't need the telescope to fall in love with the universe. She just needed someone to show her where to look. Around midnight, Nina pulled out her phone and read the Christmas story from Luke. When she got to the part about the angels announcing Jesus' birth, she said, You know what's amazing? God didn't show up on Christmas with everything perfect. He showed up in a stable, with animals, with parents who probably felt like they didn't have enough. But it was still the most important night in history, because it wasn't about what they had. It was about who was there. Lily was quiet for a moment, then said, Mom, this is better than a telescope. Nina's eyes filled with tears. Yeah, because we're together, and the stars are free. They fell asleep under the stars that night, wrapped in blankets, holding hands. When Nina woke up Christmas morning in their small apartment, Lily ran to the tree and found her gifts. A book about astronauts, glow-in-the-dark stars for her ceiling, and a framed photo Nina had taken the night before them under the stars. Lily hugged her so tight Nina could barely breathe. Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy. Today a Savior has been born to you. The first Christmas happened in scarcity, in displacement, in conditions that looked nothing like success. And yet it was the moment everything changed. Because Christmas was never about abundance. It was about presence. God showing up not when we have it all together, but when we're desperate and empty-handed and wondering how we'll make it through. Maybe this Christmas doesn't look how you planned. Maybe you're the parent who can't afford what your kids want. Maybe you're facing the holidays alone, broke, exhausted, feeling like you've failed. But here's what Nina learned. The gift isn't what you can provide. The gift is that you show up, that you love fiercely even when you have nothing material to offer, that you point your kids and yourself towards something bigger than what fits under a tree. The good news of Christmas is that God doesn't wait for you to have enough before he shows up. He enters your scarcity, your inadequacy, your broken plans, and he transforms them into something sacred, not by fixing your circumstances, but by being present in them. Nina and Lily still don't have a telescope, but every few months they drive back to that desert spot and stargaze together. And every single time, Lily says the same thing. Best Christmas ever. Not because she got what she wanted, because she learned what Christmas actually means. Presence over presents. Love over abundance. God showing up right where you are. Whatever you're facing this Christmas, financial stress, loneliness, grief, disappointment, you don't have to manufacture magic. You just have to show up with what you have and trust that God is already there. That's the gift that changes everything. That's the good news. That's Christmas. If this story encouraged you, subscribe for more real faith testimonies. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And remember, the best gifts can't be bought. Merry Christmas.